Hello, everyone. So, the White House, through their official Facebook, published this post yesterday, and there was something about it that seemed off to me because this image here, this painting, this is a real painting. It's called Let Us Have Peace, published by the Virginia Historical Society. Painted in 1920 by Jean-Léon Jerome Ferris. And it's picturing Generals Grant and Lee at Appomattox Court. It's the famous surrender of the Confederates, marking the end of the Civil War. Which is it's a good painting. I like it, but this caption here. Why is this? God damn it! Oh well, whatever. This caption here, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, is from the Declaration of Independence. I mean, not the Declaration, the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem. And it felt weird to me because anyone who even with a passing glance of history knows that the Star Spangled Banner was written during the War of 1812, or after the War of 1812, which was before the Civil War. Civil War was 1865. Written by Francis Scott Key. This guy wrote the poem that eventually became the Star Spangled Banner. I keep saying Declaration. The Star Spangled Banner. Here's the original poem, Defense of Margaret Henry, by Francis Scott Key. It's basically word for word. So I just thought it was. I had to comment the discrepancy here. It's called historians have a word, anachronism, and that's when you have a when you're trying to depict a piece of history, but you have something in the piece that's not accurate to that time. So an easy example would be if you're making a movie about ancient Greece, but you have a piece of machinery from the 20th century. That's an anachronism. So I'm not sure if it's not a huge deal, because I don't think the point of this post is to be completely accurate with this painting. Like, I think they're just using an inspiring image from American history with the Star Spangled Banner over it. Like, that the point is to inspire unity. I get that, but I just got I get fixated on certain elements of history, especially and particularly when two elements of two different time periods are brought together. It feels weird to me, but whatever. What do you think about this? But I did read a little about Francis Scott Key. He's I guess the inspiration for the Star Spangled Banner came from him witnessing the British bombardment of Fort McHenry. Fort McHenry, that's hard to say. He had a frontline view of that bombardment, which lasted for, 25 hours by the British. And at the end of the bombardment, he saw the American flag still flying above the fort, meaning that Americans still held it. and that was his inspiration for the Star Spangled Banner. I thought that was interesting. But if the White House needs to hire a historian, I would love to be considered for the job. Call me, Trump. Because you're obviously watching, right? Anyway, that's all I want to say about that. Let's watch some Andrew Wilson.
Andrew Wilson uses this delusional liberal's own logic against her in this debate.
The arbiter of morality is who? Is it you, or is it someone who's not you?
I don't believe in
you?
objective morality.
That's not what I'm asking you. So if it's objective morality, then you definitely are the arbiter of what is moral, right?
In my own personal worldview, yes.
Okay, so there is no such thing as objective morality. It's all subjective?
Yeah.
Okay, so
unless, of course, you can prove that God exists right now.
So then it just comes down to preferences?
Yes, and as to yours.
Oh, okay, well then it's my preference porn is banned.
So is that based on...
Am I doing something...
Wait,
am I doing something
immoral? Is that the way that the Bible talks about, like,
Am I doing
lust?
something moral or immoral or bad or awful or in any way against your worldview if my preference is that porn is banned and so therefore it's banned?
Well, no, it isn't.
Oh, okay, well then, if it's not immoral, I don't care.
I'm the status quo, not you.
Oh, okay, so if your preference is, and you're the orchestrator and arbiter of all that is moral, and I also, from my view, am the orchestrator and arbiter of all that is moral, how could a third person determine which one of us is right? It's my preference to follow Christian ethics. It's my
That's... I love how Andrew Wilson breaks things down to the T. Like, problem with there being no objective morality is that there's ultimately no right and wrong, which I think is what the proponents of this postmodern ideology is. I think that's what they want, is that if there's no right and wrong, nothing is forbidden, right?
preference and follow the preferences.
Andrew Wilson is kind of a genius with this, because he breaks it down to every detail and corners the person.
Of God, it's my preference to do all these things. Is any of that immoral?
Like, is it immoral that you have those preferences?
Yeah, even if they're
No.
wrong. Like, let's grant Christianity was not true. Let's just grant it for the sake of argument. It's totally untrue. It's totally fake. It's totally false. It never occurred. I just believe it because it's my preference. Is that in any way wrong?
To hold those standards? No.
Yeah. Oh,
I believe
okay,
in
great.
freedom of expression,
Well, then,
freedom of speech.
if that's the case,
Unlike you?
if that's the case,
Is that right?
then all that matters is that it's my preference. Christianity is true. It's my preference that porn be banned, and I'm at no more of an immoral position than you are. So you can't even say that me wanting to ban porn based specifically on just my own preference is in any way even bad. The king prefers that you be fucking oppressed. Why is he wrong?
So
He's just held to your same standard.
what you consider morally good, is that based on God's preferences?
It's based
Or
on
is
my
it-
preferences for God's preferences. And I'm the ultimate arbiter of what is moral,
What-
just like you.
You know where that wouldn't have happened?
But go subscribe to The Crucible on YouTube if you want to, interested in hearing some really logical arguments against all this postmodern nonsense. Here's Nick Freitas.
Why do conservative speakers require excess security at a liberal campus?
I did a little research before I came here. You've been to University of Washington, Seattle.
Yesterday.
You've been to University of Virginia and IW. And this is more so a question about not a question about turning point, rather a statement. What all of these schools do have in common is different allegations or controversies, such as the University of Washington that had allegations of harassment against Jewish and Muslim students, and students saying that the university itself was unfriendly, and even with the professor mocking a land acknowledgement just last year with Virginia, with mistreatment with minorities, such as anti-Semitism and LGBTQ students, and with IW having some more of these same things. And what all of these universities have in common is that they're all pretty much either conservative or they're on like the middle part of the political scale.
I'm sorry, you think the University of Washington Seattle is conservative?
From what the students say, that a lot of students have said that the school does, even though the school itself is very liberal, students say that it's an unfriendly environment. Many students still hold conservative values, and not to say that students make up the idea, but to go back, all these same schools are still within the conservative or lower end of the political scale, for a liberal scale, and kind of just goes back to my question about Turning Point USA, is that a lot of these signs that I see are already very biased with abortion is murder. And I know it's to rile up the people.
How is that biased? Like, what? That's just expressing one side of the argument, but which is what an argument is. It's two or more sides fighting it out through words.
Because all of this is for content nonetheless. So
Wait, does she mean that she thinks he's just a grifter, like just doing this for content, not because he believes in anything? I think that sounds like projection. Like she doesn't believe anyone actually believes anything.
So especially with the University of Nevada, Reno, with I think just not too long ago the board in the Borg situation and everything. Why would you choose UNR? Why would you go to predominantly conservative to lower end liberal schools and not anywhere? I'm pretty sure you just started this too with Turning Point, but why not any schools in California?
I've been to Cal Berkeley. And yeah, here's what I would.
So is she asking why is Nick going to schools? It's just simple, just to have good discussions with up and coming members of society.
I would greatly question your characterization of UVA or Virginia Tech as being predominantly conservative schools. I would absolutely reject the notion that University of Washington Seattle is a conservative school. Like we're talking about, like when we're talking about liberal versus conservative, is Virginia Tech more conservative than University of Washington Seattle? Absolutely. But neither one of them are even remotely conservative when you actually look at their faculty, their staff, who they contribute to with respect to political contributions. So again, the only universities that I would classify as being like actually on the conservative side of the spectrum in this country would be places like Hillsdale, Regents, Liberty, Grove City College, and I think I'm out. Like every other university.
She probably has never heard of those schools.
For the most part, when you look at how their staff, faculty, and you look at how the direction of the school goes, they all lean toward liberal to extremely liberal. I mean, the Seattle campus was promoting the whole Chaz and Chop movement during the 2020 protest movement, where they were actually taking over portions of the city of Seattle and controlling it.
By the way, the Biden administration went after the January 6th protesters / rioters really hard, but I've yet to see any Department of Justice go after the Chaz people in Washington. They literally tried to create they were separatists, basically. They tried to create a state separate from the state of Washington. Wouldn't you call those separatists or rebels? I don't know.
As independent city-states. So I don't think I can agree with your characterization of any of these universities as being inherently conservative. Quite the opposite. And as to why I'm here today, it's because the chapter at Turning Point asked me to come. But I've been asked to come to Buffalo. I've been asked to come to a university in Minneapolis. But can I tell you what the difference is? Buffalo shut us down and wouldn't let us speak. Minnesota shut us down and wouldn't let us speak. As much as I disagree with what happened up in Seattle yesterday, because I actually had people outside banging drums and on bullhorns and for 2 hours straight shouting obscenities at me, threatening people in the crowd, spitting at me, right? But they still let me come, and so I give them credit for that.
The tolerant left. They don't like what you have to say. They will yell at you, shout insults at you, and even commit violence against you.
And so I think that's the problem, is that a lot of these universities too, they will also, when a conservative speaker comes to speak, they will, I'm not saying the University of Reno did this, or University of Nevada, Reno did this, but I know for a fact that UVA, I think they were trying to get them to actually get something like 3 times the normal campus police presence for something. And that all cost the organizations money. So Turning Point is trying to go to as many campuses as that will have us speak so we can have these kinds of dialogues. But some campuses make it a lot more difficult than others in order to do that.
That's something that each college campus should be doing on their own accord. Just promoting more discussion and conversation between people of different ideologies. We shouldn't need a separate organization like Turning Point to go to campuses. Colleges should have like a intra-academic, I'm not sure which term is right, but like a program between different colleges specifically for people of different political persuasions to talk to each other. I don't know. So that's something colleges should be fostering on their own. We shouldn't need someone else to come to a college to do that. But anyway.
Yeah, especially with Turning Point itself. Especially with Charlie Kirk and a bunch of other people.
Why do you roll your eyes when you say Charlie Kirk?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to roll my eyes.
I like how he called her out like that.
But either way, with Turning Point, I can see why, especially with more liberal schools, there's more security, more police on campus, because these things do happen. And
Wait a second. Why should there be more security on a liberal campus? For instance,
I have the answer to that. Because a conservative just got shot on a college campus.
since liberal speakers have come to speak at Liberty or Hillsdale
That's why liberal schools need more security.
or whatnot, they don't require excess security. Why do conservative speakers require excess security at a liberal campus?
And I love this tactic. When you have a difficult question that you know your opponent's going to struggle with, just let her stay silent. Just let the silence breathe. Because the silence speaks volumes.
it could just be the school itself wanting to provide more security providing more security, or sorry, I didn't mean to touch it. It's mostly just up to the schools and the area itself. So I don't.
Can I give an alternative viewpoint?
Sure.
They need more security because there's more likely that a leftist school will commit acts of violence against a conservative speaker than a conservative school will against a leftist speaker. And that's factored into the way they allocate security resources for that purpose. Because no school wants to spend more money on security. No schools want to focus on the educational component. They don't want to focus on the security component. It's a side issue. So if you're saying that when conservative speakers show up to liberal campuses, you need more security, there's a reason for that. And I would argue that the primary reason for that is because what I've experienced and what many of my other colleagues have experienced is when they go to liberal campuses, there's a much higher propensity for loud, disruptive behavior, potentially acts of violence and vandalism. And again, I don't think that speaks well of liberal campuses when they require so much more security for a conservative speaker.
I want to talk about our friends over at Brave.
Nick Freitas is great. Another real logical guy. Focused on countering misinformation, or just, what's the word, lies by omission by media. And he was a politician himself. Now he's gone, I guess you could say he's gone full-blown influencer since he's left office. He was in the Virginia state government. And he even has a video on his experience in the Virginia state government. But go follow Nick Freitas. Let's pivot to Turning Point USA on feminism. I guess I like how Turning Point is not stopping with their campus tours. I've seen this guy. He's into the debater like Charlie.
What is your definition of modern feminism?
A definition of what?
Modern feminism, like your definition, or like your personal definition of it.
I would say it is that empowerment over men, right?
Okay.
Because you have two things, right? Like I was in Florida the other day and I was at the chamber and they do this like women's empowerment lunch, whatever that means, and that's like normal if you just want women to be better, right? I want women to succeed. That's good. I want women to succeed. I love women,
of course.
But saying that women are better than men or we need to put men down.
That's usually the red herring used by liberal debaters. They assume that people against feminism don't want women to succeed. That's the not red herring. There's a term for it. Straw man. I think that's the term. Anyway, so you have to make that clear from the beginning. You're not against women. You're against this movement that claims to be supporting women, but actually doesn't really.
Down. That is a lot of the modern feminism rhetoric that we are dealing with, which is wrong.
Okay.
Oh, switching it up.
Sorry. I actually
This is modern feminism now, letting the woman come in to take the mic.
Oh no, we're friends.
No, I'm joking. I'm
Very
just
similar
joking.
beliefs. And so yeah, we were sharing like kind of our questions.
Yeah.
But I think I have been to many like feminist retreats, and I know many feminist women, and every single feminist that I know believes in like the pursuit of an equality between men and women. Not women are better than men, not men are better than women. So I think like your definition of like modern feminism is that many like women want to be superior to men or want to be the bosses. Like I don't think, like, I personally have never heard anyone say anything like that.
You're
and
lucky.
I think the pursuit of modern feminism is the equality. And like, yes, like the kind of, you said like boss babe type of thing. I think like women are more.
I think our culture worships equality way too much. We should be worshiping potential excellence, respect between human beings. Equality is not the ultimate virtue.
Are striving to like be seen in leadership positions as well as men, not instead of men. I think like the point of view is like really collaborating together and working together.
And that's great. If that's what you believe and that's what you've heard, that's great. I can promise you, I lived in Los Angeles and I went to the March for Women. I can't remember these names. These were kind of a long time ago. But I went to these marches where it was these women-focused marches. And I can tell you, there is lots of male hatred at these kinds of things. And there are people who will say what you're saying and won't admit the quiet part out loud. But I believe you. I believe that those people you have talked to and your definition is that. And I applaud you for that. That's great. And I'm totally with you.
Yeah, and I think that's really unfortunate if there is a man-hating narrative. I think that's very unfortunate and very wrong.
And you need to call that out. Other women should call that out, saying we don't hate men. Other feminists should call that out. I don't understand why women feel a need to support every woman. Like, it's okay to have disagreements between women. Men do it all the time. Like, what's with this all-women girls club, the sisterhood as it's called? That makes no sense. You shouldn't support someone just because of gender. I don't support a man just because he's a man. A woman shouldn't support a woman just because she's a woman. That doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous.
I do believe that in the past, like many women have been oppressed to not be able to take these leadership positions, these jobs. They were seen to like just work in the home, take care of the children. And I think if you want to do that, that's amazing. You should be able to do that. That is a very rewarding, beautiful like thing to do with your life, but they should have the same equal opportunity and ability to go out and be a CEO, be a boss, be like a legislative leader, something like that. Like we should have like the same opportunities as men. It's not.
Agreed. What law exists today that prevents you from going into any field you want to go into? What law is on the books today that separates you from men like that?
Women are way better than men. We should be equal.
Sure, I totally agree with
you. You are equal.
Opportunity-wise, men and women should have exactly the same opportunities. Now, whether or not women are as good as men at certain things when they get into those positions, I would say no. Just like men, I don't think are as good at certain things that women do historically that women are better at. But the opportunity, I agree with you, should be the same.
Can you elaborate on like your point that like women may not be as good at certain things? Like what specifically are you thinking of?
People are different. It's that simple. Human beings have different interests. Human beings have different skill levels. Human beings have different propensities toward different things. So we're not all going to be equal in skill at everything. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Like working on an oil rig.
Like, Peter Dinklage is not going to be a good basketball player. There's nothing wrong with that. He's an actor. He's become successful as an actor.
I don't think a woman would be as good at working on an oil rig as a man, and I don't think that a man would be as good as a social worker as a woman.
And why do you think specifically women wouldn't be like able to work on an oil rig as well?
Because it's very
physical strength. In general, women are not as physically strong as men. Working an oil rig is a demanding job physically.
Very demanding and it's very dangerous, and a woman wouldn't want to do that.
But like.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If a woman wants to do that, she can if she wants. She just has to build herself up a little more to be competent along with the men. It's possible for a woman to lift weights, work her body up to the level of a man. There's female bodybuilders. She can be competent in physicality. It just takes a little more work. Nothing wrong with that.
Specifically, why is it demanding and dangerous? Like, are you saying like physical strength wise?
Physically, the isolation, the demandingness of having to do that hard labor every day. I mean, it's very tough. You know, it's just I don't think women would enjoy that. I don't think that they would be as adept at doing that as they would be able to do something else.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and I agree about like physical strength. Like a lot of women biologically.
I really don't like that tactic. I hear what you're saying, but I agree. But don't try and play both sides. Just say what you want to say.
We don't have as much physical strength. However, I think there's a lot of women who do have the potential to be in those kinds of jobs and like.
Not the argument. No one's saying a woman doesn't have the potential. We're just saying it is what it is.
Gain a lot of muscle and who would be successful. Yeah. So I do see what you're saying biologically.
And this is why I think we worship equality too much, because it gets to a point where any difference at all, no matter how benign, is seen as discriminatory. Which is not the case. Just because there's a difference doesn't mean someone's being discriminated against. We're not all the same. We have different attributes. Human beings are different on the individual level. We're not automatons. We're not the Borg.
Sure, but women don't choose. Do you think that the fact that like 98% of people who work on an oil rig are men, do you think that's because men have kept women out of it, or because women choose not to do that?
I'm actually not sure. I would have to research on exactly the reasons why, so I couldn't tell you.
Like common sense. Like, what do you think?
I mean, again, like I'm very like I do my research and that's how I come up with my opinion. So I don't want to say common sense, make a guess, because I could be wrong, and I don't want to like just put that out there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I do. So I was thinking. Okay, hang on. Let me like gather my thoughts. So specifically, what else about, you said women may not want to work in an oil rig. Why do you think they wouldn't want to? Because, I mean, you're not a woman, you don't have a woman's brain,
because there's data showing, in general, men go into these fields and women go into these fields. We have different interests because men and women are different. There's nothing wrong with that.
How would you know they don't want to?
It would be awful. I mean, do you want to work in an oil rig?
I mean, personally, I don't, but maybe someone likes the idea of like every day going out and being like, I don't know, I don't read people's minds.
You go find me 10 women on this campus who are going to work on an oil rig, and I will believe you. But of course, that's
do
not
any
the case.
men want to work on an oil rig?
Much more.
No, not all men want to do those jobs because it's a tough job. I don't want to do that job. But in general, more men want to do those jobs than women because it's physically demanding and we can handle it.
More than women, yeah, it could be a good job.
Or I should say men can handle it more so. A woman can handle it too. Just might take a little more effort.
Job for them. They could find out new skills. You know, men have different things. Men are
Well,
more
maybe
aggressive.
women
Men are
want
more-
to find those new skills as well.
Well, then I don't know why we don't have 50-50 of men and women working on oil rigs.
We're not going to have 50-50 employment between men and women in every field. That's impossible. There's no exact 50-50 division in nature. That's an impossible standard.
I mean, I don't know either.
There must be some
but-
conspiracy of men keeping women away from oil rigs.
Well, I definitely don't think it's a conspiracy. I'm sure there's an actual reason, and I agree
Because
with you.
women don't want to do it.
Well, maybe not. Maybe like just physically, like that isn't something that they feel like they're up to. But we're just going off on a tangent with the oil rigs. I don't know anything about
Sure,
oil rigs,
sure,
so
sure.
let's just ignore that.
Okay.
Wait, do you have my phone? I have like some notes written down. Okay. So, oh, sorry.
No,
Are
sorry.
you okay? Okay.
Yeah, good.
So, what do you think about how there's a narrative that men shouldn't show emotions as much as women, or that they shouldn't be stay-at-home dads or do traditionally feminine roles in society? What is your stance on that?
I think any person should go into any field they want to go into. Emotions, every person should learn how to control their emotions at a young age. I don't think emotions are generally good. Typically, when you rely on emotions, you make bad decisions. It's okay to feel emotions, to express emotions, and to deal with them in your own way. If you feel emotions really intensely, you find a way to deal with them. But typically, when making logical arguments, logic and emotion don't really mix well.
I'm very split on that, to be
Right.
honest. My degree is in clinical psychology.
Okay.
So I understand human nature and all these things, very well. And also just from being able, my job has been talking to thousands of people for my career. I know how people work and how they talk and all these things very well. And you see men who suppress things, and it obviously doesn't go very well a lot of the time. Now, there is a certain degree for when you are a man and you have responsibilities and you have people who depend on you, that you can't be spending your time getting so emotional. You have to say, okay, this is the world I live in. Life is unfair. Buck up and go and take care of business. You can't let your emotions dictate your life. And
That would be the Stoic way of handling it, which I think is a very positive philosophy for men in particular. Deal with your emotions on your own time. When you're out in the world, deal with the world as it is.
sometimes your brain will be your worst enemy, and it'll
Okay.
convince you of things that are not true. And so you have to convince yourself, your conscience, convincing your unconscious
Okay.
that what I'm saying is untrue, and go forward and be a better man, right? And sometimes that means not letting your emotions fully out. And I agree with that. But to think that we need to suppress our emotions and be these like rock type of people is toxic masculinity, no man wants to really actually do that. Because then you're never going to have anyone who truly cares about you in a loving way,
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the way I see it.
I mean, I agree on your stance that if we let our emotions completely run our lives as any gender, that would like not serve us as humans. We wouldn't be able to like really function and make proper decisions. But I don't think that's just something for men. I think
Again, that's I hate when people try and play both sides. Try and go into a validation in the beginning, and then they say a but, and then they say most likely the opposite of what they just said. It does, and it's because too many of us are afraid of confrontation. We should be willing to confront ideas more aggressively, because words are not violent. We use words to avoid violence. That's how what a civilized society does. We fight it out with words.
emotions are powerful, and I think being in tune with our emotions, letting ourselves experience our emotions, and learning how to like both interpret them, control them, I think that's
course.
important for both men and women. And I think
It
the
is.
narrative
men
that
and women men and women experience emotions differently. Would you say so?
I think in some ways they do, in some ways they don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But that women overall.
Not really answering the question. You just said nonsense. In some ways they do, in some ways they don't. Okay, so which one is it?
I think it'd be pretty obvious to say are more emotional than men on average.
I mean, I disagree. I think that men have many emotions that are beautiful and like diverse. And I think the fact that men have had to suppress their emotions and just pretend that they don't feel it and that they're macho, I think that's the reason why suicide rates are so high in men, and especially young men.
Suicide rates are high in men because we live in a society that is not really tailored for us anymore. It's more tailored toward women now.
Growing up, they feel like they have to just.
And we should be suppressing our emotions, at least when we're in public. We deal with our emotions in private. That's how it should be.
Push all their emotions to the side and just act macho, act like, oh, I just have to be in control, instead of actually being like, I'm feeling this right now. I need to take care of myself. I need to experience this.
I do agree with you somewhat on that.
Okay.
But I think that's a bigger issue on the suicide of men than just them not being able to show their emotions because of toxic masculinity or whatever, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I wish men could show their emotions better too.
Okay.
I think there is a lot of room for that, for men to be able to.
It's not really a gender thing. It's every human being should know how to deal with their emotions in a positive way.
Do that.
Okay.
But there also comes a time where you think about what men have had to do historically for thousands of years. You go to war, you have to suffer, you have to go through terrible things. If you're there on the front line having to show your emotion during these kind of things and expecting someone to come and save your feelings, it's not going to work. You have to be able to look past your emotions and say, okay, I might be feeling emotional, or there might be something that is making me upset, but I'm going to do this anyway. Your emotions cannot dictate how you are. Now with women, I believe that it is different. Women operate in a different way, where their emotions do dictate more of their choices than men.
I recommend the movie Saving Private Ryan. The opening of that movie is very intense, and it shows why historically men have learned how to deal with their emotions in private, because we historically have done stuff like that. Saving Private Ryan, it's a great movie. Be warned, it's a very intense, graphic movie, but I think it's important.
And that is okay. Yeah, they're
Don't want
fighting
any
and doing all
crazy
sorts of
fights
stuff.
happening
I
again.
know,
Yeah, that
it's
was crazy.
Which I think is okay. I think that's part of the things that make men and women different. You know, women experience things in a different way. It's why men love women, you know, because they experience things differently than me. If I found a woman and she was just like a man, I wouldn't want that. You know,
Okay.
You want a woman who's like a woman, a man who's like a man, and that's why they coincide and get together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying about how like men have been the ones who have been sent to war and have.
I totally hear what you're saying, but I'm about to say something that contradicts all of it.
to like completely shut down their emotions. And well, I mean, we see like PTSD, like that has been so
awful.
high in men, and I think like the fact that they have been put in like these circumstances is completely unfair, and I see why that like created this societal norm for men to shut their emotions out. But I think like nowadays, when that isn't that's not necessarily what's happening, I feel like we should have a different narrative that we're telling to
Well,
young
I think
boys.
the bigger problem for young men is the
Right.
fact that they don't have any passion or meaning in their lives. There was that trend a year ago or so, and it was like, why are so many young men thinking of ancient Rome? Where girlfriends were asking their boyfriends or husbands how often they're thinking about ancient Rome. And they're thinking about it all the time. You hear about this?
I have,
They're thinking about it all the
I
time.
have.
Why are they thinking about ancient Rome all the time? Or like medieval knights or any of these kind of things? It's because what do they have to look
The ancient Roman Republic / Empire is a fascinating case study compared to our own society, because it's on the opposite end of the spectrum concerning gender relations. The Roman Empire was very masculine, very tailored toward the ideal, what they considered the ideal man, the strongest version of a man, and it's very, very interesting to compare their society with our society today, which has become a little more feminized, more tailored toward women instead of men. It's nice to look at those side by side.
forward to in this day and age? Going and sitting at a desk and answering emails all day, you know, and then
Yeah.
also, no offense to you, but also then being told that they need to be more emotional and more like women, you know, young.
I'm not saying we should go back to excessive masculinity like the Roman Empire. I'm saying there could be a balance struck between the hypermasculinity of the Romans and the pathological femininity we're seeing now. That maybe those two extremes can meet a little bit in the middle.
Young boys in elementary school being told that if they chew their Pop-Tart into the shape of a toy gun to fight their friends, that's like wrong and evil and immoral. You know, like these kind of things. Like, I am of the sense that boys are going to be boys in this, and they need that sort of drive, passion, meaning to be truly happy.
I totally agree. I think everyone needs a drive, passion, and meaning. Not just little boys. I think little girls need that too. And I agree, like what you were saying about sitting at a desk, just typing or writing every day. I think that isn't doing humans justice. I think we need to be outside. We need to be doing something bigger with our lives. So I think I completely agree. That's a huge issue, but I don't think it's just for men. I think women also need that drive and excitement and everything in their lives. So
Productive discussion. We need more of that. And with that, I think I'll take her advice and turn off the computer. Thank you for tuning in. I see two viewers. Starting small. Let me know if the audio was good. If it was too high, too low, if I'm too close to the mic or too far away. Let me know. I think I'll go live tomorrow night after work. But subscribe if you want. If you agree with anything I've said, tell me in the comments. If you disagree with everything and hate my guts, tell me in the comments.